Manchester City were so poor today. Bournemouth were great. Bournemouth were brilliant throughout much of the game. They controlled it. They should have won by more. Yet this Manchester City side just offered nothing. Pep Guardiola afterwards talked about the fact that there's injuries, that everyone's playing, not 100%. That feels like an excuse that the players have accepted as well. Because with the performance they gave, it looked like they weren't committed to this tie.
What a most astute observation from you, Dan.
Well, once a year.
Yeah.
Here you go, lie done.
When Pep Guardiola, even leading into this game, following the midweek elimination from the League Cup, he keeps talking about the injuries and the injuries and the injuries and the absences and the tired legs and the tired minds and the heavy legs. The players are also hearing this, and they're also listening to this. Now, there are a couple of things that go against this conversation or this rhetoric or narrative from Pep Guardiola. One is the fact that this performance from today was no different than what we have seen from Manchester City over the last few weeks. This was no different than Wolves, no different than Southampton, no different than Fulham. It's the same sort of performance. The difference is that the opposition today actually put away some of their chances. Not all of their chances, but some of their chances, and therefore Manchester City were under pressure and could not come back. The second thing that negates that argument and that conversation by Pep Guardiola is if you have heavy legs and heavy minds and you're tired and you have injuries and you're not quite at the level that you should be, those things usually show up late in the game. Late in the game. The best version of Manchester City today was after they scored a goal in the 81st minute. So late in the game, they had legs. Late in the game, there was intensity and passing and movement and isolation and 1v1 situations and creating opportunities. And so you think to yourself, wait a minute, if it is about tired legs, if it is about tired minds, then how come late in the game you are playing with a different purpose than you were early in the game? That doesn't quite match up.
Do you agree?
I absolutely agree with what Ali said, but I would also suggest that they're making it difficult for themselves because the pace at which they play the game makes it easier for teams. And it seems like this year everybody is having way more success defending against City. The pace that they go at, I mean, today's game is a great example. Bournemouth, when they went forward, the pace they went
One
at,
touch, boom, boom, boom.
They couldn't handle it. City couldn't handle it. The other side of the coin is when City got the ball, it was, again, the old back to the basketball. Right, settle down, this is what we're going to do. And it gives everybody time to get in. And so in the last 10 minutes was as much to do with Bournemouth panicking because the game should have been over. And all of a sudden, they've got to see out 10 minutes. And then, of course, any team, City's just getting it forward as quick as they can. And they're doing it at a different pace, and it started worrying the opposition. So for me, it's nothing to do with the tiredness and all the injuries and everything else. The pace that City play at is making it too easy now for teams to defend against them.
Don, we've been here before. We've sit here, I feel, most of every season when City have a little bit of a blip and go, oh, maybe this is the time. This is where they aren't at their best. Yet what's interesting, and Ali brought it up, is that they've been consistently poor this season and getting away with it because the opposition haven't punished them. Is there a feeling that something's afoot this time round where they're not going to be able to achieve their best?
Good question. And I don't know what's wrong with the show because Ali's making good points tonight and I'm agreeing with him.
Wow.
So I don't know what's happening.
I'm sorry, what?
The only thing I can think of, Dan, the only thing I can think of, maybe, is it because there's uncertainty with what Guardiola's doing? Is that an excuse for the players?
Well, you were a player, Don. Isn't it an excuse?
Bang on about tiredness. I don't think it makes you play poorly. I don't think it doesn't stop you running around with intensity because Guardiola said that after the game today. He said we couldn't match the intensity. We couldn't match Bournemouth's fitness. Semenyo ran them ragged. Evan Nielsen ran them ragged as well. I thought Kirkes at left back was superb. I'm struggling to find where their spark is, and maybe a lot of teams now are sitting back. Well, how do Man City play? Do they play with emotion? Maybe with the last 10, 15 minutes of the game when they're desperate. Yeah, they do, and they ramp up the intensity. But for 80 minutes of a game, I don't want to say they're predictable, but they are a little bit because you know what they're going to do. If you get men behind the ball, they're going to go side to side, side to side. They're going to try and keep possession. They're going to try and wear you down. But if you're defensively solid and you've got good legs and good energy, and Iraola's a fantastic manager, and he sort of studies a lot of the NFL, and he tries to take that into what Bournemouth do in terms of the team shape when they haven't got the ball. But these are just excuses that Man City have got to get over, because, you know, they've not really been playing well for a few games, as Ali said. They're not churning out the wins. They've been churning out the wins, excuse me, but they're not convincing wins, where we've seen City over the years when they were different and they'd beat teams 5, and then they'd rock up and beat someone 7 because they just, you know, get you in a headlock and just absolutely wouldn't let you out of anywhere and just demoralise anything about your game. A lot of other teams now are starting to catch up technically, and even Bournemouth are catching them up. Well, that must be really worrying signs for Man City, where you go away to Bournemouth, even though they beat Arsenal the week before, and you can't get a win there. That is troubling times.
You cited Odegaard when we had the Arsenal conversation. Can you just cite Rodri in this, Stevie?
I think you can say Rodri and De Bruyne, no question. You've got 2 world-class players on the field. It does change, and it changes the way they play, because Kevin De Bruyne, as we know, will get his head up and will play a ball from 35 yards in behind early on when he gets a hold of it. So, yeah, it does. Missing those 2 in particular does change the way they play. However, if you look at that lineup, 80% get in most other teams on the planet. So it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to have any sympathy with all excuses.
And to that point, Stevie, and I'll just give an example, and specifically on one player. I think we can all agree that Erling Haaland is a better player than Semenyo. Yeah? We know this. And yet you see Semenyo playing today, and he is bullying people around. And they're just falling off of him, and they come and challenge, and they bounce off of him. And that's what I envision Erling Haaland being able to do. And yet, for whatever reason, it doesn't happen as regularly and as consistently as it should. And so I don't believe this is about tired legs or heavy minds. I don't think this is about the quality of the player, because as I just established, Erling Haaland is better than Semenyo. I feel that sometimes on the day, Manchester City picks and chooses when they pick up the intensity, when they pick up the urgency, when they pick up the speed of play. I agree with you wholeheartedly that they're not a quick team. The team speed is not quite there. You have a guy like Doku that comes in and changes the pace of the team, but overall the team speed for Manchester City is not there, and the speed of play is not there, which then makes it difficult for guys like Erling Haaland to actually have an important role in this group.